I landed my first big tech internship at Amazon, but that wouldn't have been possible without my highly optimized resume. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the resume I used to land offers at Meta, Google, and Amazon, as well as interviews at Roblox and a few quant firms. I'm going to go section by section and tell you what I think actually mattered and call out what I would have done differently if I was starting over. Before I get into any specific bullet point, I want to talk about the format because I think this is where most students mess up before a recruiter even reads a single word. The resume is only 4 sections: education, experience, projects, and skills. That's it. No personal summary, no objective statement. Nothing like that matters because a recruiter at a big tech company only has 6 to 10 seconds to scan over a resume. So every single line is important and we don't want any wasted space. I kept the design super systematic. Black text, one font, the same formatting throughout. ATS systems, which are the standardized resume formatters, sometimes struggle with fancy layouts, so it's super important that everything's as standardized and neat as possible. A referral can only get you so far if the system can't read your resume. For my resume, the education section is at the top because I was very recently a student. Once you have a few years of experience, you can move that to the bottom because at that point, your work experience matters way more than where you studied. As a student though, your school and major do a lot of signaling as to how you can work in the field. In my education section, I listed my university, my major, as well as an expected graduation date because a lot of the times recruiters are actually hiring for a specific class year. One pro tip that I'd have here is to move up your grad year by 1 year every single time. I came into college with a lot of extra credits, so even when I was a freshman, I said that I was graduating as if I was a sophomore because I actually did have the credits to back that. If recruiters can't figure out what year you're graduating, your resume may get skipped, and putting that you're graduating a year early typically signals to recruiters that you may have more experience under your belt. I also included a relevant coursework section with as many courses as I took in my undergrad at that point. Some people say that coursework is filler. My take is that when you don't have much else on your resume, you can include your coursework because it matches against the keywords in a job description well. For example, if you're applying for a machine learning role, it would be nice for the recruiter to know that you took courses in Introduction to ML or Introduction to AI or natural language processing and things like that. Once you have more on your resume, you could probably shorten it or drop it entirely, but I still have it on there just to match with ATS systems. I also have my GPA listed. If you have a 3.7 or even a 3.5, I think that it's fine to keep it on there. Below that, I would maybe drop it. I think that it doesn't necessarily hurt you to not have it on there, but if a recruiter sees a low GPA, that might get them to scroll away. Next up is professional experience. This is easily the most important section on your resume as it actually gets you interviews. I'm going to walk you through my 2 big tech internships on this section and how I constructed every bullet. Every bullet on my resume tries to do 3 distinct things: what I built, how I built it, and the impact that it had. If a specific bullet point doesn't have all 3, it's usually a weak bullet. Take this one for my Meta internship. I found a key bug with stale GPUs not being cleaned properly, resulting in 600 plus GPUs being wasted. What I did was find a bug. What specifically was the stale model launches not being cleaned, and the impact of it was 600 GPUs being wasted. A recruiter skimming this line will get the entire story. Let's compare that to a weak version. Worked on bug fixes for machine learning infrastructure. It's the same activity, but there's 0 impact there. For Meta, I had 4 bullet points covering the project. I think that having 4 high impact bullets reads better than having 8 vague bullets that probably don't get the point across as well. My Meta project was a full stack dashboard that tracked ML model launches company-wide. The bullet points covered the scope, which was company-wide visibility, the tech stack, which was Hack, GraphQL, and React, a specific win, which was the GPUs being wasted, as well as another specific win, which was a 40% reduction in page load time. Notice the numbers. The numbers really help to emphasize exactly what I did and the amount of impact that they had. Every bullet that can have a number has a number. If I couldn't attach a number to a specific bullet, I would make sure to try and attach a specific business outcome or specific technology. My Amazon bullets are a little longer. I have 6 bullets here because I just had a little bit of a broader project. My project at AWS was a full stack upgrade of an onboarding website used by other internal AWS teams to onboard onto my team's service. There are a few things to notice here. First, I called out the scope explicitly by saying a platform team underpinning all AWS services services, because internal tooling sounds small, but the scope was actually huge. Second, I was super specific with the tech I listed: 7 RESTful APIs, Java, MySQL, React, Figma, AWS CDK, Lambda. Interviewers pattern match on Stack, so being as specific as possible definitely helped. Third, my last bullet was my impact bullet. My work helped to save hundreds of developer hours per month. Always try and end with impact if you can. For the older roles, I did keep on there my Hunter Strategy internship, which was a smaller startup, as well as a high school researcher role that I had. Here's my reasoning. My Hunter Strategy internship was my first real internship, and it helped to show that I could ship real products, and it definitely helped me to land my AWS offer later on. The high school role I'll probably drop now, but I had it on my internship before because it showed real machine learning experience that I thought would be nice to have if I was applying for any machine learning role or anything similar. While you're early, any legitimate research or engineering role is definitely better to keep on there than having empty white space. Your goal is to always fill up as much space on your resume as possible. I think that if a role is probably older than 3 to 4 years and you have more recent relevant experience, you should probably cut that older role. But keep in mind, this is only if you have something else to fill it with. Again, most important thing is to fill up as much space as possible. My skill section has 3 lines: programming languages, certifications, and technologies. One honest thing I'll say here: I have Rust listed at the end of my languages. I know some Rust, but I don't know it nearly as well as I know Python or Java. If an interviewer grilled me on it, I would probably be pretty cooked. The key here is to just be super careful with what you have in your resume, because if an interviewer is a specialist in that specific language or technology, chances are they're going to want to press you more on. If you ever get caught in that type of situation, my opinion is that you should just be honest with the fact that you don't know it to a super high degree, but show that you're open and willing to learn more about it and work in that language or technology. As for certifications, I'm not sure how much they're valued in the tech world nowadays. Back 10 years ago, it felt like you could get a new certification and you would almost be guaranteed to land a new job offer. But now they feel archaic and overvalued. I included mine since I already got them, and I don't think it hurts you to have them in any way, but I'm not sure if that's something I'd advise pursuing at this point. Now for my projects, I actually only have one project listed. It's a stock price predictor using machine learning and sentiment analysis. I do get asked often why I only have one project, and the answer is because I feel like it's a strong project that I can talk about in good detail. I felt like my other projects I don't know as well, and they do feel a little bit outdated, so I decided to include more in my professional experience instead and keep my projects to a minimum. Some key things that you want to include in the project section is what it does, how it does it, and some type of measurable impact that the project does. For example, on mine, it says that I hit 97% accuracy on my stock price predictions. If your project doesn't have a measurable result, add one. Count the number of users, run the project against some type of test set, benchmark the API. Just find some possible way that you can measure the impact that this project had. If I were rebuilding this resume today, there's probably 3 things that I would do different. First, I'd remove the high school research role because I do think it's a bit outdated now, and I could probably add a second project with that extra space. I'd also tighten up the skill section a little bit and remove things that I'm not as comfortable with, like Rust, but not specifically the things that I'm not comfortable with, but the things that I wouldn't want to work on. Personally, I don't want to use much C or C++ in my projects or in my work, and those are definitely things that I'm not as good at, so that those are candidates to be cut. The resume is a living document. You should be updating yours as much as possible whenever you finish something worth adding on there, like some sort of project or anything like that. It's not worth waiting until the next recruiting cycle when you don't remember the project as much and can't speak on it as well. If you're building your resume and want someone to look at it and tell you what actually works and what doesn't, check us out at Landed HQ. The first thing that we do if you start working with us is tear your entire resume down and build it with you brick by brick, one-on-one. We've helped over 30 students through the full process at this point, and all of them have said that our resume review was one of their biggest helpers that got them their jobs. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe for more.